think it's getting to about nearly 10, if not 9 in some places. I hope I'm right. This is Come. Let's talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And tonight, we delve again into the lives of immigrants. I mean, considering it was just last week that the United Kingdom recognized officially the Windrush generation, the people who arrived in this country more than 40 years ago and started making contributions to this country. A statue has been unveiled in London where it actually has a man and a woman and a child and a suitcase, and they are arriving in London. The Windrush generation are the people who came from the Caribbean, arrived into this country, and then started working in some of the harshest and hardest conditions that this country was in. 40 years on, and life has quite changed. Probably they were the pioneers who went through hell to open up the ways that we have come to find a little bit more acceptable. But there are people from our own countries, Ugandans, Kenyans, Tanzanians, Rwandans, Burundians, Congolese, people who moved into this country in the 60s, in these countries in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, a totally very different kind of lifestyle. But they managed to live through that, and then we have a community. So to maybe get us started tonight, looking at these kind of challenges that they had to put up with, the realities that they are facing. For someone who just arrived in this country last week, when we were talking about, like the issue of sending money back home, you had to go to a particular, shop, then stand before someone, and then you receive a very handwritten receipt, which confirms your money has gone, and then you have to go buy a calling card, which was expensive as well, call someone back home, tell them where to go in town, and go and pick up the money. The process was long, it was laborious, but it worked in those times. To think that today you can just sit with your mobile phone with just an app, with just a click, you just send money from your account straight to a recipient back home. It is just unbelievable. Last week, we're hearing a very interesting story from Sheikh Rabia, and I'm sure tonight it is not an exception. We will be able to maybe actually hear from her with her daughter. Probably they have questions, her children have questions to her. But hearing the story last week of her own coming to the United Kingdom, how she's managed to bring nearly 20 people from her own family was just unbelievable. But these are the stories, the realities that we've had to live. These are some of the challenges that we had to go through. Sending money back home was really a priority then. The remittances have contributed a lot. In 2014, for example, in Uganda, the amount of money that was sent by people who are abroad in the diaspora exceeded the income that came from Uganda's biggest export commodity, which is coffee. That gives you an idea, especially for our younger generation. With my children, I've always had a discussion. They are looking at you saying, I'm sending money back home, and they cannot get themselves to why you're always sending money back home. But sometimes probably this is a conversation now that as parents, we should have with our own children. In fact, there was a conversation about contributing to a wedding, and they're saying, I will sort of finance my own wedding. Why should I get people to finance my wedding? And you have to sit these children down, explain to them why within our communities, staff, how things worked. In fact, in Burundi, there used to be a very rich man. That man, whenever someone died, he wouldn't attend the burial or go to people's weddings. He would just get a driver, give them money, and send them to go and represent him, in the ceremony. So they would just bring money if someone died or if someone if someone was getting married. So he never attended weddings. He never came to funerals. One time he loses his daughter, and what people did in their poverty-stricken conditions, they managed to raise a little money, a little coins here and there, put money together and sent it to the rich man. For a rich man, it wasn't about money. He needed to see people around him, and he didn't have people. That was a big lesson. And these are things that we have now to take back to our children, sort of prepare them, to sort of get them into an understanding of why we do certain things the way we do them. But we also have to try to understand them, because there is a language. Yesterday, I was speaking to my children, preparing them for today's program, and I hope they will have their own, side take on this conversation. But I was having a conversation with them last night, and I said to them, when you come home, you are somebody else. When you get out there, you are also somebody else. You start speaking in the way that you speak to your guys there, in the language that all of you would understand. When you come home, you think, we are so slow in our understanding in our English, and therefore we try to bring it to our level. They were laughing out. They were busting out with laughter because they said, Papa, how did you know that? And I said, and you thought we didn't know. Well, that's the conversation that we'll be having tonight. Remember, if you have anything that is burning, you can just raise up your hand. Oh, the chat room is open. We are live on 75 W Radio. We are live on Umma Connect. We are on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom, where we are broadcasting from now. Call your friends. Let's hear these conversations, your stories, your fasts. When you got there in the school, how was it like being the first Black child or one of the very few Black children in the school? Did you make friends quickly? Were you struggling to even make friends? Was English a struggle? Were there some that stood out and suddenly became your friends because they sympathized with your kind of situation? Those are conversations that I'm sure we'll be having tonight, inshallah. Conversations that are very important to have, because off the back of this, we start to understand the kind of countries that we have entered in and where we find ourselves in. Remember, you can text if you can't. Maybe you can even call our studio line. You might find Zoom a bit tedious. If you haven't connected into Zoom, but you're following us on YouTube or you're on Facebook, just call into the studio. I'll be giving you the studio line very shortly, inshallah. And all you have to do is just call the studio line. We'll take your call and connect you through so that we can have a conversation. Call your friends, gather around, grab your cup of tea, and let's start our conversation. Isma, we need that first clip on the challenges faced by immigrants. And that should at least open us up into the conversation that we have tonight. For those who have joined us, thank you very much. Much appreciated. We do not take your time for granted. I'm sure it will be worth the while. Let's first watch this clip here, and then that should help us go into the conversation. It will be very interesting for you children who are participating in the conversation tonight, probably to ask your parents. There are probably things that you have always wondered but never got a chance to ask, especially about the situation in which we have found ourselves in. Our lives are too busy. Sometimes we don't get the time to discuss some of these things. Isma, when the clip is ready, I'll just stop talking. When I see it flashing on my screen, ready to share, I'll keep quiet and then wait to hear the actual clip. These are some of the challenges that face the people, immigrants, when they get to these foreign countries. Doesn't seem to have a sound on. I'm not sure what's happened. It looks like, are you still trying to get the sound on?
Americanized, which may be at odds.
If you just take it to the start. Now the video is not available. I can hear the sound, but the video is not visible on screen. And for those who have just joined us, Imam Kasozi, all the way from Kampala, where it is 14 minutes past 10 o'clock. Barakallahu fikum. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you'll have an input in tonight's conversation, especially having made at least people who have lived in these conditions. And probably, I'm not certain, but you might have been the first person who came from your village coming to Kampala, and what that actually meant, whether you had now to become the nest that will be receiving everybody coming to Kampala. Yes, Isma, go ahead if you have the sound, please.
7 challenges immigrant families face in the U.S. You would think that the struggles faced by new immigrant families would be over once they arrived in the land of the free, right? But do you know that immigrants are faced with many barriers once they arrive on our shores? Here are just a few. 1. Raising children and helping them succeed in school. One of the biggest obstacles immigrant parents report is raising their children in a new, unfamiliar culture. Parents often find that their children are quickly Americanized, which may be at odds with their own culture. Additionally, kids tend to pick up English much faster than their parents. This throws off the parent-child dynamic, and you know that kids, especially teens, are going to use this to their advantage. With regards to school, parents often feel disappointed to see their children struggling to keep up in class, and many parents report bullying and discrimination as a result of cultural differences. Kids are often placed by their age rather than by their ability, and for those who are unable to speak English, it's virtually impossible to keep up. To add further insult to injury, parents may not have the education or language skills to assist their children, and they may not be able to communicate with faculty to address the problem. 2. Difficulty speaking and learning English. Let's be honest, the United States is not known for being multilingual, so imagine arriving here unable to speak English. Try getting a job, making friends, or even completing basic tasks like buying food or filling out forms. To address this, many immigrants take ESL classes, but finding the time between jobs and caring for kids can be difficult. 3. Securing work. While most immigrants are happy to take whatever job is available when they first enter the country, finding a job and slowly moving up the ladder is incredibly difficult. Even if you ignore undocumented immigrants who face additional challenges securing work, trouble speaking English is a major problem in positions you might not expect, like labor. Immigrants who are educated and who formerly had strong jobs back home find it frustrating that they can't obtain the same jobs here. 4. Securing housing. Large families often choose to live together, creating stressful, noisy environments that are hardly conducive to studying or resting. Again, immigrants fall victim to exploitation, this time from their landlords. 5. Accessing services. Undocumented immigrants have an especially difficult time accessing services, largely because they are afraid of being deported. Consequently, people will avoid seeing the doctor or reaching out for services like legal guidance when they're badly needed. Those who are here legally aren't necessarily in the clear, though. Difficulty speaking English, trouble taking off work, and limited transportation are all very real issues. 6. Transportation. Like language barriers, trouble with transportation is an issue that affects nearly every aspect of life for immigrants. Obtaining a driver's license, whether documented or not, is extremely difficult for a variety of reasons. For those who don't speak English, a translator is needed, and they aren't easy to come by. Also, the driver must be literate in order to pass the written exam. Luckily, families will have one car to share among them, but getting kids to and from school, as well as getting adults to and from work, can be challenging. Many times, the men will keep the car, leaving it up to the women to find their own rides from friends or coworkers. But hey, what about public transportation? While many immigrants do rely on public transportation to get around, it can be incredibly frightening for some. 7. Cultural barriers. Again, just like transportation and trouble speaking English, cultural barriers transcend each and every aspect of life for immigrants. In spite of all these challenges, the people are incredibly strong and grateful for the opportunity to be in the United States. Most of them have such basic desires: to have their children succeed in school and to be able to put a roof over their heads. After everything they have already been through, they do all that they could to keep their families afloat in this new, scary place.
Well, you just had a look at that. I'm sure many of you can relate in a lot of ways. The program is Come, Let's Talk with me, Kassim, Kayira. And we are live on 75W Radio. We are live on Ummah Connected, on YouTube, on Zoom, on Facebook, and soon launching on Instagram. Now, the conversation tonight is about immigrants and immigrant parents with immigrant children, the kind of realities that you have to go through. You've seen the issues to do with languages, the issues to do with transportation, the issues to do with even fitting into the system. It will be very interesting now, probably just to open up the mic again to you, to hear your own stories, just in terms of, those things that stood out. There are some of those shockers that actually come to mind. Someone was telling me how they went to ask for a visa, and when they were asked why they wanted to come to the United Kingdom, it was a very interesting conversation. They sort of said to the visa officer, I heard that in London, there is a bridge that goes away in the morning and then comes back in the evening. And so the visa officer was saying, have I heard you right? Yeah, they say there's London Bridge and it goes away in the morning and comes back in the evening. The visa officer laughed so much, she stamped the visa into the passport, because it was just one way of sort of saying, go and be able to see that. The fact that it opens up and ships and whatever as vessels can go through, whether that means going away and then having to come back in the evening, that's a whole different story. Definitely now having conversations, especially when our own children get to appreciate the kind of problems, the kind of realities that we go through, that is another very important step. Allow me, because that's what we're trying to sort of get more of you getting ready into the conversation. Allow me to play the second clip just about Asian families, talking about the kind of sacrifices, because it's about Asians, but I think that's why we'll have you live now to sort of have your own particular experiences. Have you ever felt ashamed? For example, last week we had a clip of this Ghanaian boy whose parents packed fufu in his lunch pack, getting to school and opening fufu and the kind of smell that was coming out of that, and how the other students or children are, responded. He swore never ever to carry fufu to school. It might be that something also happened. Your parents also packed up some lunch that actually made you, feel so silly at school, and you'd rather, you don't eat and just bring it back home. It might be that experience from the children. I think it will be interesting just to hear your own stories with your parents. Probably you've never had a chance to sort of discuss it. This is the moment. This is your global community conversation where no topic is out of bounds. The only difference is we just do it decently. We do not swear. We just say it as it is, but with a lot of respect. Isma, if you have the second clip, please, it will help us now to open tonight's conversation, because the other challenges are sort of the general challenges that I'm sure many of you can relate. But let's hear from the Asian children talking about their own parents and the kind of sacrifices that they had to make. And then off the back of this, I'll open the microphone up to you to be able to start having your own conversation. Yes, Isma. And then the sound has that ability that the moment you just disconnect, it just decides to play up. Let's hear again. Let's try the sound again.
Families.
Yeah, take it back from the start, please.
This foreign country.
Oh God, I didn't think I was gonna cry.
Both of them left their families and knew no one and came to this foreign country.
Yeah, my mom moved to America and didn't get to see her family or her siblings for almost 20, 30 years. Didn't get to see her mom's funeral, didn't get to see her siblings grow up with their families because she was living in America.
My mom used to come to my elementary school every year with traditional dress and a Quran and a prayer rug to like teach the kids about Eid. One year after she came, a lot of kids made fun of sort of the way she dressed and what she was doing and what she was talking about. And I was really angry at her. And I told her never to come back again because I was really, really embarrassed. And she listened, but I think she was really hurt.
I remember when I went to India in 2008 with my mom for a wedding, she said that was the first time she had ever visited the Taj Mahal, even though she grew up in India. And the reason was that she just spent her life working for us.
My dad, before he died, he was looking for all these jobs of things that he didn't love to do. And he loved playing music, but he knew that he had to make a little more money.
They took odd jobs. My dad worked at a restaurant. He cut grass. I remember stories that they used to look for aluminum cans to recycle from the neighborhood.
When I was in kindergarten, I remember that my mom, she sat me down and asked me, would you like it if I stayed home more so I could hang out with you? And I said yes. And so she gave up her career as a computer engineer to become a full-time mom.
My mom was encouraged to be a stay-at-home mom in her older years. She felt really isolated because it contributed to her not being able to learn English and make friends outside of the family circle.
I used to cry every time that my mom would drop me off. There's like a video of me at daycare and I was like 3 years old and I ran after her and they had to go get me. And my mom would cry too because she didn't want to leave me, but she had to work.
Even to this day, my parents are still struggling like financially. When I got into college, I got into UCLA and USC, UCLA being a public school, which was a lot cheaper than USC private school. And my dad just said, go wherever you want and we'll figure it out. My parents had to take out a lot of loans and stuff. I didn't get any scholarships or anything. We're still paying those off right now. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Oh, hi, Mom and Dad.
Mom, Dad.
Mom,
Thank you for all the little things that you did that I didn't know about, especially as a single mom, raising us all by yourself.
And even to this day, working 6 days a week still.
I know I don't always say it, but I really appreciate everything you've done for me.
I'm sorry for the way I acted as a kid because I'm not ashamed of you. I'm really proud of you. And I'm really proud of who you are. And I'm really sorry that I used to pretend that I was white. I'm really sorry that I used to pretend that I wasn't Muslim. And
Thank you for everything. You did more than I ever deserved. Sorry.
I love you.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
All of the sacrifices they made, by the time I came along and like was aware of it, it's almost like
you have just heard it all. Thank you very much, Isma, in the technical side of things. I'm sure listening to that, you've been listening in, and why don't I use the opportunity actually to sort of tap into the young people listening to the conversation tonight, just to sort of get their own view, especially regarding this last bit, and then we'll just open up the conversation for later. But it would be interesting just to hear from the young people on here, sort of probably telling us, having looked at that and the sacrifices that the parents made, whether they think actually probably that's the same story, because I'm sure probably that story resonates. It's about Asian kids here. This is what was recorded tonight. We are live, and therefore we can talk about this conversation in detail between ourselves. Nura Kizito, you are new to this conversation. Listening to this, you can unmute yourself. Just click on the button, please, and unmute yourself. I'd just like to hear your own take, having listened to, first of all, that what that makes you feel like. How did you feel watching that particular video?
I think Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I think definitely the point of realizing too late is something that we all experience. Obviously, when you're younger, you don't see the sacrifice and everything that's went into it. And it's not until I grew up and my mum told me all the stories, and I don't know, you realize that, yeah, like our parents went through a lot and still managed to kind of be there for us. So yeah, that's one point that
and listening to that conversation and the way they spoke about that, how did that make you feel? Did it resonate? Did it have any resonance at all?
Yeah, 100%. I definitely feel sad because there's a lot of times I feel like when we were younger, we did take our parents for granted. And yeah, I just wish, I wish we had more knowledge as children, so we could have been there for them a bit more. But yeah, I think it's something that we all feel.
Well, I know that your mom is on tonight and sort of tuned in and listening into the conversation.
Yeah.
The very last word that they were asking those young people that participated in that conversation was to ask them if they had something to say to their parents. If you had something to say to your mom now, what would you say to her? She's listening.
Actually, we've had this conversation a lot about like upbringing, and there's a lot of things like generational differences, where there's certain things we've just kind of decided, okay, we're not going to agree on that certain thing, but it's okay. We both can see that the other person's point is valid. But if I could say anything, I would just want to let her know that we all appreciate everything that she and my dad have been through, and it's got us to where we are today. So it was just like thank you pretty much, and thank you to all the other aunties, Uncle Jaden, just everyone who was there for each other, you know, during times where we were just kids.
Now you said at least you've had an opportunity to have a conversation with her, sort of going
Yeah.
through what sort of conversation? I mean, what would you be talking about? Is it like the difficult? What did she tell you about the difficulties? You know, they went through childcare or whatever. What exactly would be the, sort of the tone of your conversation?
It was a lot of, you know, like children asking why questions. So trying to understand why things were a certain way. And one thing that we had a major disagreement on was kind of parenting styles. So obviously the older generation, they have different methods of discipline and things like
The
that.
chiboko, you mean?
Yes. Yeah, we're all very familiar with it. And yeah, kind of trying to talk to her and say in a respectful way that, okay, this might be something that you're familiar with, but we don't think for us personally it's the right thing to do. But again, trying to say it in a way where it's not downgrading what she thinks is right. So yeah, conversations mainly about discipline, and yeah, it's just generational differences. A lot of them came down to that point.
Did you get a chance to probably tell her your own situation? Because quite often we talk about ourselves and we don't talk about the situations that you go through outside the home. Because once
Yes.
you leave the distance between home and school, quite
Yes.
a lot of things can and actually do happen.
Yeah.
Is that a conversation that you ever had to sort of say, you know, along the way or at school, there's this person that is bullying me, or your own first experience at school? I mean, is that a conversation you've had a chance to talk about?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, like bullying is a major thing, not knowing any English and struggling to make friends. I'm very thankful that my mum created an environment where I felt safe enough to tell her about certain things. So, you know, cyberbullying, bullying in person, whenever I felt uncomfortable, I felt safe enough to tell my mum that. I do know in some environments, because, you know, parents are so stressed with work and things like that, there's no space to talk, and there's a lot of buildup of negative emotion. So there was that at times, but yeah, I think I was able to talk to my mum about my issues.
Nora, you actually raise a very, very important point about parents probably working too hard and therefore not finding enough time to sort of have a conversation with our children.
Yes.
How do you think probably these conversations should be had? Because picture this, you've come off a shift where you've had a very difficult supervisor, you've traveled on the bus, probably using public means and therefore not driving your own car. You get back home and you know you're already drained, and yet now you have to have a listening ear. Now, speaking as a young person, I'm a parent, I've come back home. How would you want me to sort of be able to listen to you? Because you said your mom created a sort of a conducive environment that allowed you to share some of these things. But how would you probably teach us as parents, because you are a young person?
Yeah.
Tell us, how would you rather have it? You know, what would be the best moment probably to be able to listen to you and hear what you have to say?
Yeah, I think that definitely depends on the child, their age, and whether they're at a state where they can understand what you're going through. So when I was younger, you know, if my mum went to work, I wouldn't understand everything that came with it. So I'm just going to speak at her and just expect her to, you know, listen. But because I'm older, in that situation, she's able to say, Nura, I'm really tired. Am I able to listen to you tomorrow? Or just kind of giving the child options so they know that you're there to listen, rather than just saying, I don't have time, or completely shutting them out, because that over a long period of time will mean that they will want to get advice off other people, whether that be peers, people online. They need the attention from somewhere.
Would that tomorrow not disappoint you though? Because if I said I'm really, really like so tired, can I take it tomorrow? Because in the heat of the moment, sometimes you just want to get it off your chest and it's still fresh. For it to sleep overnight. Would you rather now parents try as best as we can to make the time there and then? Because when you come, you actually want to have a particular
that conversation. Yeah, I do think 100%. If you have the energy for it, definitely do it there and then. But yeah, if you're at a state where you feel like I'm definitely too tired, then yeah, maybe that's something that should be pushed to another day. Just seeing what you need to do in that moment, I guess, making that decision.
Oh, thank you very much, Noor. And I'm sure we still have you on, and we'll try to get your mom as well as we open up the conversation. Please, this is just an open conversation. Everyone has a say, and this is the difference about this program. I have not come to preach to you. We have got so many programs that will do that bit, that preaching. Here we come to sort of have a conversation, and that means you having a say. And having your say means you being able to participate in the conversation. I can see your hand is up. I'm trying to get in one more person and then come to you so that then we can get the laughter open. I'm sure probably you are with Rahma there, or one of your daughters, probably, maybe they might have something to say as well. I'm sure Hajara, as the mother to Noura, might have had something that probably out of this conversation that hadn't probably been made. Although some of these things we know, but sometimes we pretend. Shayan, I'd like to bring you in just here, listening to Noura here. Shayan, you want to unmute yourself, please? Just like to take your own. Shayan is my son. That is a caveat. So we lay it out clearly. Shayan, are you able? Are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm fine, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for joining the conversation. I think Noura now has sort of has set the ball rolling. Listening, I'm sure you've been listening to her. Yeah, did you?
Yeah, I was hearing it.
Okay. Yeah. So now, because she raised the issue of listening and the clips that we were playing about immigrant fathers or parents, mothers, fathers, and the kind of challenges that they go through. But you also have challenges that you go through as children. But probably, do you think you get enough time to be able to share with your parents? So what do we need to do to create an environment that will allow you to share your sort of feelings?
Like me personally, I don't know. I don't really have the problems right now. But like, if I did, like, I don't know. I don't think I would tell my parents. I feel like it's just because there's probably other ways to talk. Maybe like you could talk to your siblings. You've got siblings to talk to. But I don't feel like that's the parents' problem. Like, I really feel like the environment that parents have created is like there for work-related things. All this and there for like work-related things, and like the siblings are there for your comfort. You know what I mean? Siblings are there to understand you.
But are you then trying to imply that as for parents, you can't have, you shouldn't talk to your parents? I mean, there are issues that your siblings won't be able to sort out. Issues that relate, for example, with bullying, or issues to do with school, or your even personal development. These are things like, when does it become all right for you to sort of, let me put it differently. Are you able to open up to your parents and sort of have a conversation regarding something that would be bothering
you? Yeah, I think I would. Most definitely now. Like, as you grow up, you learn to open up to your parents, I think, because it's just the better thing to do at this point, and it helps you like massively. So yeah, I think I would.
And are there challenges you think that you face between home and school that as parents we should be able to be aware of in case we are dealing with you, that we should deal with you considering those particular circumstances that you face between home and school?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
Like what?
Well, like school issues, or?
Yeah, but I mean, when you leave home to go to school, between home and school, there are a lot of things that can happen along the way. Is there a better way that parents should be able to lend an ear and listen to, your concerns if there are any issues? It might even not necessarily be issues. It might be positive things, but is there something that you really think, this is how we would have wished our parents to sort of be there to understand what we go through between the time that we leave home and school?
Me personally, I don't know. I feel like parents are doing enough right now, but I feel like there's different preferences. Some people want to be, some people wanted to be cared for or like listened to and all this and that. And then some other people, some other children just want to be like left alone just to recuperate those feelings, you know what I mean? And I feel like I feel like parents just need to understand where the spectrum is, where you just need to leave your kid alone, or you what's it called, or you go and help them and listen to them and all this and that.
Okay. Well, someone has just put in the chat room to say, Brother Kassim, that is your son. He's not going to respond. He's not going to respond like if it's another moderator. It's like, doctor, you cannot treat your own. All right. Okay, Shayani, thank you very much for that contribution. Let me just go to Sheikh Rabia. Please, young people who are on the chat room in the conversation tonight, the numbers are growing. Call your friends. Let's have this honest discussion. But it's about the challenges that we have faced, but also hearing these stories, because I think it is important. The more you appreciate, the more you hear what has happened to your parents along the way, probably sometimes you might just be able to appreciate why they do what they do the way they do it. Jadane, be assured, I'm a doctor, but I can treat my own. I've been down that route a lot of times, and there are different ways. Probably they might open up once other people start talking. Sometimes you just put someone on the spot the moment you bring them in. I honestly didn't prepare him that I would go to him, but having heard from Noura, I thought she sort of set the ball rolling in a way that would allow us. Maybe it's a boy-girl issue that some boys think they are macho and therefore don't, reveal their feelings. Girls probably come out and they're able to express their feelings much more. I don't know. You might know. That's the conversation we're having tonight. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Last week, you left us in stitches. Everybody was just laughing about your stories. I don't know what is it today. Are you with one of your daughters, or are you sharing another of your stories?
Yes, I am, but I think she hasn't yet get on crutches.
Yeah.
She has not yet understood really what is going on. But as time goes by,
how old is she?
You
see that's where our children think that now we are unable to express ourselves, and sometimes they try to feel sorry for you.
Yeah, for her, they see that I'm very slow when I'm talking, and they don't know that when we are talking in Uganda, the Uganda is very, very slow. Can we speak to
her? Can I speak to her, please? Can I speak to her?
Yes, she's here.
Who is that? Is that Rahma?
Khalila.
Khalila. Oh, okay. Khalila, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
How are you?
I'm fine. How about you?
Alhamdulillah, we are good. Thank you very much for joining tonight's conversation. You can hear now young people are already getting to speak out. And you are telling mommy to speak her Uganda because you think she's slow in the English.
No, it's just, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it.
But are you able to have a conversation with her? For example, if you come back from school and you get to speak to her, you get to explain to her what has gone on, what has happened to you, do you feel free to sort of have a conversation with her?
Yeah, I do.
And well, may I ask how old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
Oh, 11 years. Yeah, that's definitely. Did you get to watch the clips that we were playing at all?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. Okay, that would have been much better for us to have a conversation. But do you think your mom gets to listen to your concerns in case you have any concerns, either at home or at school? Do you feel like you are free to tell her anything that you feel?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay. And if you had a chance to say to her something that you have not said to her away from here, what would you say to her now?
Pardon?
If you had a chance now to say to her something that you've never said to her, what would you say to her now? Yeah, I mean, you have nearly 36 people listening to you at the moment, sort of listening to the conversation at the moment. Do you have anything to say to her? Maybe appreciating her. She's a very hardworking woman. Well, maybe actually first describe your mom for me. That might get us going. How would you best describe your mom in terms of?
My mom is a courageous, brave, beautiful woman and very kind-hearted. She's a really great mother, and to be honest, she's like my best friend.
Oh, brilliant. That's nice to hear. Yeah. So being your best friend, being your BFF means now you can actually literally tell her anything that you feel. Anything that happens, you can tell her.
Yeah.
And you would trust that she would act upon it.
Yeah.
Oh, Khalida, thank you very much. Okay, hand over back to Mom. We olabye olina BFF ko kamanyi oba takuto katonda kamanyi.
Owaye basooka ne bakaŋŋamba nga ndaba BFF nga sikategeera mpaka ne mugamba olaba ne Kalafu open louder nga nako sikamanyi kati ne baŋŋamba bagenda baleetayo obuntu bwabwe ne babugamba.
OMG. And you have to keep up to catch up.
Definitely. Naye kati omanyi Sheikh Kayira ffe abantu abaleeta wano kati mulimu abaana abamu be twajja nabo ku mugongo nga tuzze nabo kati abaana abo
gezagezaamu kazungu anti omanyi tubalinako bangi ekiro kyaleero kati
yeah, there are some children whom we came along with.
Yes.
Here in the UK, yeah. We found it very much challenging because don't forget that we had just come into the country. Yes. We don't know the accent. Yes, yes, we could understand English, but we don't know the accent. You could lose the tracker very easily.
Yes.
Because they have their own terms. They have their own culture at school.
Yes.
You know, because now you see, we just brought them Okuve Uganda when they have classes like a P1, P2, P3.
Yes.
And when we came into here, they started because
they
my
just
daughter
go
was
with age.
They go
look
by
at the age and just place them in the class.
Ages to understand those things, not until I have to give birth to the new ones.
Yes.
Who were to start with nursery, reception, year 1, year 2, and then I began to understand what their term of years is meaning. Because
now, very interesting bit there. Sorry for the interjection. The good thing is now you are a parent who came with some children from Uganda, and then you had some children from here. Same story here. Do you find a difference between those children that you came with from Uganda and those that were born here? Do you see the difference?
Yes, I can see the difference.
What difference?
The first difference, academic-wise, that those whom we came with, they were they lagged behind somehow because I didn't know how to help those ones. You understand? Because I didn't know the syllabus. Yes. I didn't know what to teach them totally. And whenever they could bring something for me to help them, it was totally different to what I knew from Uganda.
Yes.
Not until for these ones whom I started with, and even the older ones, they blame me that, Mom, you never gave us support as much as this support you are putting on these young ones. So ekyo kyokka kibeera kibahatinga more abo be twajja nabo because bano tuba tubayambye right from childhood.
You feel like you've helped them from childhood, and then the other ones missed out on that.
And more so for them, they also found English was also a problem. They found it very, they couldn't even understand the accent. Even she could come back and she tells you, oh, you know, Mom, I don't understand what they're teaching at all. So you find it very difficult to help her. Secondly, we were working so much. We had just come into the country. Some were saying, oh, banange tebanzizayo nga sina kyeneekoledde.
Fear that you might be deported and you go back without anything. So you end up working too hard.
Yes. And by that time, even we ourselves, our minds were very below the capacity. You understand? Kati nga obeera tolowooza nnyo nti education y'omwana wo is the key. Kati amaanyi ge twabateekangako, it was quite little.
In comparison to these ones who were born here.
And by the way, when I gave birth to these ones, I had to give up my career in favor of them. So my eldest
and look after them.
Mom, kati kubana owatuula ate nze kunze you were working so hard. Ate when you gave birth to these ones, I was the carer, I was the child minder.
Yes.
Ate for these ones, you are bringing in some child minders, the real ones. So I was the child minder. Me, I don't want even to give birth because I've already gave birth to your ones.
Wow.
Hey, kati the challenges zetusiŋŋaana ku baana abalala nti abo basiŋŋaana obuzibu era ojja kusiŋŋaana nnyo abaana baffe be twajja nabo. Many of them, if they are boys, somewhere have faced prisons.
Yes.
And if we're girls, they've already given birth, they just went anyhow. Baayogerangayo oluzungu luno olw'ekikajjo, what? Ng'abaana bagenda bwe batyo because we had no time and interest in education.
Yes.
Kati zezo challenges zetukenda tusinkana oba njirandikirawo mpozi n'ekirala nti osinkana when we go at school at parents' evening.
Yes.
Sometimes bano abaana basiŋŋaana challenges nti when we are speaking English, they say, kati nga bw'omulidde, oh ma'am, stick to Luganda.
Yes.
Kakati ate nga gwe oyagala okubanyonnyola. Though the teachers, they can understand what you want to put out, but for them, feeling so ashamed nga kulaba accent is not the accent you want.
Yeah.
Kakati abeera tayagala nnyo okole ki?
They don't want you to speak a lot because they think you will ashame them at the school.
And don't forget, nti nze we bimpitirirako at school, I've already understood what the teacher is trying to mean, and I know what he or she has committed at school.
Yes.
I just confess in Luganda, wange, lwaki wakoze bwoti ne bwoti. In order to avoid it, I know kubeera nti she's very smart at school if she doesn't want me to put out my accent and my Luganda. So you have those are challenges.
Stay on there because Hajara, if you are in a position, Hajara Nachitando, if you are in a position to speak, please come in here because you are saying you can relate a lot with what Sheikh Rabia is saying. Please come in and sort of help us. If you are not at work and sort of stuck and able to speak, if you can, please come in. Hajara, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
An interesting conversation going on here. You've listened to Sheikh Rabia, hard tribulations, hard trials and tribulations. You can relate.
Yes, of course. Hajat Rabia, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Honestly, I can't have enough of you. Like, you make me laugh all the time. Even I don't know what to say, but thank you so much for this program. Honestly, I've never put my children together and they are here. It's unbelievable. I don't know whether you have magic or what, because they cannot be in my room for a long time. They have their own things, but
and now they have their ears glued to the conversation.
Honestly, so that is very nice because honestly, we are going to learn a lot from our children, Sheikh Kayira.
And that's why I want us to listen as much as possible. We really, it's time for us to accept.
Yes.
Sit back, listen, listen and learn. Yes, you were saying about Sheikh Rabia. I didn't want to.
Yeah, yes. The thing, like, the thing Sheikh Rabia has said that with our children, the older ones, they didn't get enough attention than our young children. Yeah, because for example, Nora, honestly, I feel so guilty every day. And she always tells me, Mom, it's fine. But honestly, that girl went through a lot looking after the young ones because I was working 4 jobs. I was rarely in the house. And honestly, they had to wait for me on the doorstep and say, Mom, I want to tell you this. Mom, I want to tell you this. Mom, I want to tell you. So they were all coming to tell me something, but I didn't have time. So it was up to Nora to make sure that the needs of the young ones is being met. So she missed out on her young, what is it called, Mr. Kai? Childhood. She missed out. Yes. But the working, honestly, men, I'm advising our fellow brothers, if as ladies we can stay at home, at least we work 2 days or 1 day a week, so that we look after our children and we are there for them. I think that will be the best way to raise our children, Sheikh Kayira, because it's so hard on them when they want to tell you something and you don't have time.
Yeah.
At the same time, you don't have time, because even though you say, okay, I will sit and listen to you, you are so tired. And as Nora said, you might say, like, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yes.
But honestly, then that is the best way, like, to do it.
By tomorrow, the steam has gone. I mean, you see, a lot of this, and Farid Antege says in the chat room, I knew there would be a lot of guilt tripping tonight, from parents. And I had, because when I was with my son who was just done his GCSEs, we were sort of going through the options, and then the ones in year 9 were also deciding what to choose, and we were having that conversation. And somehow, somewhere, one of them sort of chipped in and said, but McKean was saying, he was never helped to make these choices. And you realize suddenly, I mean, and it even gets worse the more you think about it, that, for example, I'm a qualified teacher who was taught in this country, well, very briefly, but managed to teach. And yet, you are missing that bit because you're out there working too hard, just making sure that the table is catered for and people back home are able to have something. McKean, you are on here. Hajara, stay there with Hajara Sheikh Radia. Don't mute. McKean, if you're on here, please come on here, because I just felt guilty and I never got a chance to sort of have this conversation with you. McKean, are you there?
Okay, you keep disappearing. Your voice.
I keep disappearing. No, I was just asking McKean. I think I moved too much, and apparently, and Mr. Jaden, I've seen your hand up. I'll come to you as soon as possible. I just wanted to catch up with McKean here, because listening to the conversation of the parents now here, sort of coming into an almost confession of sorts. McKean, are you there? If you can raise your hand, please, and then I'll get you to unmute. If you're not there, McKean, are you there? Can't seem to see him there, but it would have been very interesting just to sort of hear that take, because I felt so guilty because I was hearing about it from the siblings, the way they talk, and they think you're not listening in. And they were saying, McKean was saying Papa didn't help so much. Well, Papa and Mama didn't help that much in making the choices that we had to make at the time that we had to make the choices. But Hajara, now you see the kind of challenge that we are in. You're working too hard out there. You're trying to put food on the table, but then there is this challenge. I wanted you to speak with Radia because you related a lot, and that is on school evenings, school parents' evenings. Let's hear that from the both of you. You have both your mics open.
Sheikh Radia, you can go first.
Sheikh Radia was already there, and she wants to explain to the teacher, and then the daughter just interrupted to say, it's all right.
Hajara ngakuchi.
Parents' evening.
Yes, me what I normally do, ngezako kuba nze abana okuba blaming. I first put it out in Uganda, and then I translate it into English. And then even the teachers, they start to look at themselves. What is your mom saying? Translate quickly. And don't forget that I'm like a soldier there. Yes. That if she speaks wrong or that differently, then I'll tell her, no, I didn't say that. So definitely she has to put it right.
Yes.
If they want me not to go at school, they don't commit any problem. But once they bring up with any problem, they know that I'm going to challenge them with my English Luganda.
Yes.
Yeah. So abana bafe, I don't know. They also find it very difficult, but nothing to do about it. And sometimes they could tell me, oh, mom, today, I'll let you know whichever taking place at school. You say, why? Hey. So
they feel ashamed. They feel like you're going to shame them.
It's only this young one, Halila, could tell me, oh, mom, would you love to come with me on my trip? Can you sign in? I say, oh, yes, because I knew that if we don't accept to follow them and to accompany them to trips or whatever, or some other, it puts their morale down. But if you go along with them, they become very, very, very happy. And she keeps on telling you whichever is taking place. So I urge parents to babeere nga kwegamba babeera n'abaana baabwe nga bwamugamba nti mama eriyo kano, the parents should accept and you sit together with them.
Yes.
Naye Feruli kati nze with Dalila teyamanyaako kuba nagendanga mu parents evening naye nga mu parents evening shake I don't go to discuss what I know. Yes. They just tell me what is taking place, and I see that whatever the parents' evening is getting finished, and I go back home. Yes. And secondly, sometimes what I've found, mom, can you sit down and I tell you about okay, she can watch a movie and she wants to explain to you that movie, how what takes place. But sometimes you find the parents, we don't have that time. Yeah. If you don't have that time, then that is past. And as time goes slowly by slowly, they lose interest of telling you what is taking place in their lives. Yes. And instead, because I used to, they try to explain and open up everything if the mugenyi is very open to them. Yes. So that's why olaba nti abaana wano basinganye nnyo nga tubasingana nga time as it goes bagamba abazadde tugamba bano abaana bawano babeera mu buliri babeera mu kisenge because you don't include them in your stories much as when we get visitors we turn up to kwegamba Uganda tetuba including mu mboozi bagamba genda waguru genda vawa wano towuliriza mboozi z'abakulu which is not their right here. They have the right to sit in conversation and to share with you. And yet in Uganda, that is not our culture. The children
there are those cultural differences.
Yes. So, Hajara nawe yongereza.
Hajara alinga kwataganye, let me bring in Jaden into the conversation. Oh, Hajara is still there, but Jaden is also on. Jaden, Hajara, please go ahead. Let's 3 minutes past 9 o'clock. And the program is Come. Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio. We are also live on Ummah Connect on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. The conversation is continuing. There are so many young people that are on tonight. Please, I know some of you have used those short words or A and Y, blah, blah, A70. Please raise your hand and let us listen to you. It's tonight where we're having a conversation as immigrant parents and the kind of challenges that we go through for you as children of immigrant parents. And you've heard, I think we've heard from Khanir, we've heard from Noura, and we've heard from Chayan, who sort of raised a little bit of a conversation, but I'm sure there's still a lot out there. We are here to listen. The conversation is yours. Hajara, you have the microphone, and Jaden first, and then we'll go to Hajara. Hello, Jaden.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and thank you very much for giving me the. First of all, I appreciate what Adia and Sister Hajara have said. It's something which resonates with most of us who are here in the UK, because it's an experience where if you haven't gone through that experience, then you haven't arrived. Yeah. But there are three things actually which I wanted to bring in, and that ties in with what Noura said about parents not having time for their children. One, we came here as adults, and most of us come from cultures where children in our societies were not to be heard. Children were meant to be seen, but not heard. So when we were growing up, we didn't have the right to stare at our parents in their eyes or to ask them the why questions. Why this? Why that? Why that? So we came with that culture and that attitude, and it becomes difficult to adjust and give our children that time. It's not that we don't want to share things with them. That's the other part of my discussion. But it's because it's something that we are used to. We don't sit down with our parents. We've never sat down with them. You only speak to your parents when they speak to you, and only on specific questions. For example, your father will ask you, or your mother will ask you, why did you get these low grades in maths or English, for example? And you are not going to digress and say, here, or this teacher was bad, and so no, you want to answer just specifics. But here, what I find out is that our children sit with us if we give them activities, and they'll ask us all sorts of questions. And some of those questions you cannot answer because one, they are too sensitive because following up on last week's conversations, some of the reasons of why we are here, we just don't discuss them with anybody, especially with your children, because some of the things are under the cards, some of the things are outright outrageous, and you don't want to share such things with your children because time will come when they'll say, but my dad did this, for example, and what right has he got to tell me not to do certain things? And the second part is about the nature of the jobs that we in academic cycles we say there are the 3 Ds. The jobs that we do, they're dangerous, they're dirty, and they're very demeaning. So by the time you come out of your job, you just want to go to bed. And for a child to wait for you for you at the door with their homework and say, Dad, can you help me? When you have gone through a horrible day, your manager has been horrible to you, or you've been walking behind the dustbin for hours on end, you just don't have that time to sit down with the child and discuss with them. But that is one of the things which we have to address. And this forum is a better place for us to share this information with our children. Because parenting styles, I'm sorry I put you on the spot there with my comment about you cannot speak to your child because it's your child and you cannot treat yourself. So for my case,
no, you shouldn't apologize. You were right about it. It's just the techniques around it. You have to find a way of finding it. But have you had a chance to sort of explain some of the things that we find difficult? For example, in an African culture, when you look someone straight in the eye, it is very disrespectful. They will even say, this child will become a thief by looking someone in the eye.
Yes.
In the West, if you don't look someone in the eye, then you're trying to hide something. If you fold your hands in Africa, it shows humility. Right here, it shows actually that you're closing. You don't want to listen. You don't want to hear what someone wants to say. Could this now be, have we found a way of communicating to our children these kind of differences so that probably they do understand that?
I think what we found out informally is through the networks that we've developed. Because for us, even without anything written down, if we've got anything difficult we want to discuss with our children, we send them to Sister Hajara, or we send them to another friend, and indirectly tell them that we've got this issue, can you discuss it with the girls? And the other way around, if they've also got difficult conversations to discuss with their children, we are open to their children because we talk to them at different level, not at a parent level. They know us as their uncles or their dad side.
So that's good. At least you've managed to build that network that helps you to be able to have that conversation.
Yes, and then there are certain things you can open up to them without that fear of saying you're going to feel bad about certain things. So that kind of networks, if you can cultivate, even if it's a small network of 2 or 3 people, at least it removes that embarrassment, that tension, and that unease of discussing certain things with what are difficult conversations with their children.
Yes, Jaden, you know, there are certain things that you've said that some of the things are embarrassing to even have a conversation about. But sometimes actually you could turn that sort of embarrassment into a joke. Depending on the manner in which you package it, you can package it in such a way that you are still able to communicate the facts, but without necessarily, you know, sort of throwing the embarrassment. I'll give you an example. One of my very good friends had just arrived in this country, and he was living around West London, and he saw a thief who was trying to break into someone's home. A burglar was trying to come through someone's back, and he was able to see the person. Now, the Ugandan first response when you see a thief is to raise an alarm. This guy starts in the middle of, you know, West London, and People don't understand, you know, like raising an alarm. So people were sort of getting out, but instead of even bothering to see what he was trying to raise attention to, they were looking at him now as the mad person, you know, in this particular conversation. So some of these things, these realities, I don't know whether our children actually probably know so much that we actually need even to take our time to start learning from them. Not necessarily that it turns them into parents, but the kind of things, the situations that they have to deal with in their own way and in their own language is so different as to what we deal with. As an older person, there are things that you will say, I won't look there, and you won't look. The young person is always attracted to looking and probably even, you know, finding solution to that situation. And probably it's an opportunity for us to get to learn. They are talking about embarrassing things. Are there things that you probably would find difficult to explain to them, like boarding a taxi with a mattress? Was that something that you ever got to tell your children about as you have a conversation?
Kayira, you want me to repeat the story?
It's not about repeating, it's about whether you have ever told your children about, because I know you're sort of a free spirit in how you talk. I wonder whether there are stories that you've managed to sit with them and tell them I had to run from the police who are not even looking for me.
Yeah, me, I always sit with my children and we talk, they laugh, they keep on laughing. Even they keep on asking me, Mahbub asked me, but mom, are you the richest person in your family? I say, oh yes. And then he says that, you know, the thing I don't want on earth is to take me for a tuition. Why do you waste all your money to take us for tuition? And now the leader say, talk about it. I never went for tuition, and you are going for tuition. And now for you, you don't want me. I wanted it. I had no hope. And now for you, you are being taken for tuition, and you don't want it. So you can imagine how a child can ask you, are you the richest person? And then eventually had to ask me to tell me, I don't see why you're spoiling a lot of money with the tuitioners. So for them, even they can't see, as you've shown us the video, in the end, they had to thank their parents because they lost the career. One was the engineer and she lost her career and just stayed at home, just looking for children. And you can imagine me, whichever money I get, I just take it to tuitioner for their improvement of in their whatever, in their academic. And for them, they're asking me whether I'm the only person who can pay for tuition. And sometimes Rahma tells me, oh, you know, mom, I'm better where I am. Can you stop paying for that tuition?
Yes.
You can imagine. And sometimes and you still see, you can still find some parents of us, when you talk about tuition, a parent can say, what is that? Why should you take him or her for tuition? And yet you forget here, because when you attend parents' evening, they normally tell us that for us, we give your child 25%. 75 is from you as a parent. So as you a parent, where do you see that you have really played the role of 75? And yet now my children have not yet known. That's why I told you that if Dalila was here, she would have given you the testimony. And she told, oh, mom was so this, mom was so rude, mom is this, mom is now differently. I behave differently because I became to know the rules and regulations of the country, the culture of the country, because we are all now assimilated, you understand? Before I wasn't assimilated because I could even term everything. I could say, I cannot eat matoke here. I'll eat when I go back to Uganda. But now I buy it and I cannot count the money I put at Pascali's to get the matoke because I cannot wait to be taken to Uganda to eat matoke. But before, as Dalila was here, we could eat kaunga, we could eat anything, chips, and that's why you see some of our children, they grew big, they became wherever obese. Yeah, because for us we could think that eating junk food, what, it's nothing. But now we knew that this food was not healthy. I thought maybe when we eat chips and chicken, that's the better we who came here in UK, but it wasn't. So we have a lot to discuss with this issue, but Alhamdulillah, Sheikh Kayira, you brought it up. And I know that some of the parents are listening and they can contribute as well.
No, fantastic. I mean, I've seen a message from Farida saying, Sister Yasmin and Sister Aliyah, I hope to hear your stories. Sister Aliyah, Sister Yasmin, I'll be coming to you next. Hajara, next time your hand was up and I will need to come so that we can open up the conversation. Please, the conversation seems to have been now left to a very few people. We want to widen up and hear your experiences. It might be that you just want to talk about your story, which you didn't get a chance to do last week. Hajara, next time you have the mic.
Hello, this is Naren Kizito. This is Ajawa's son.
Oh, hello. Oh, hi. You are who, Chizito?
Yeah, Naren Kizito.
Nurain.
Nurain.
Oh, Nurain Chizito. Yes. Hi, Nurain.
Hello,
How are
yes.
you today?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for joining the conversation tonight. You've been listening through this, the trials and tribulation of parents lamenting, but also young people saying we need the time to be listened to. Let me hear your own take. Having listened to the conversation so far, how does it make you feel? What's your takeaway so far?
Well, I feel like we had a lot of different issues whilst growing up, but one for me, which I grew up with quite a lot, in my early years of secondary school, in primary school especially, I never really understood why I couldn't go like out with my friends. So my friends in primary school would have like, you know, birthday parties, you know, or going to like, you know, fun fair, cinema. My mom just would refuse no matter what. I remember this one time I was friends with this girl, and we were quite close friends, and she we wanted to go to the cinema and watch this movie, and we were gonna go with her mom, and the mom would like drop me off and everything, but my mom just refused. Like, I felt like I couldn't go anywhere, and it was quite unusual because all my other friends could do so. So I kept asking myself like, why, and to this day I still don't really know why I wasn't allowed. Like it was like, I know it might sound silly, but it was something when I was younger was very confusing, and it felt very different.
Did it feel like it was because your parents didn't have money, or because they were just trying to protect you, probably to be restrictive in terms of allowing you to just go and hang out with friends?
Well, when I was younger, I just said, Mom, she doesn't let me. That's just how it is.
Yes.
But as I got older, into my earlier years of secondary school, I did start to question why, like, if I'm in a setting and say one mother's willing to bring me back from the event, then why is she being so overprotective?
Yes.
And I've never asked her why that the case is.
Well, she's here and she's with you. Mama Hajara, why? Well, tonight is really the confession night. We are having all these conversations that are, you know, he has asked a very valid question. It has hurt him from childhood. You know, he would always say no to fun fairs, say no to cinemas, and in childhood probably it was about being protected. He grew older. Now, you know, ask mom. We are in a conversation.
Just like, why was I not allowed to go to social events like my other friends? Because I felt quite isolated at times.
Sister Hajara?
Yeah, most of I think Sheikh Kayira, you have already answered the question, because it was being overprotective. Sheikh Kayira, I was so overprotective of, like, with all my children, and
worried about what?
Worried about safety and everything. And if we bring in the religious part of it, that was another point. So it was like, that is not allowed. That is not allowed. And when they are young, I mean, you cannot explain to them that this thing is not allowed. And so, but the most important thing was being overprotective, Sheikh Kayira, to be honest.
And it wasn't about the money, because you're working 4 jobs, so money wasn't the problem.
No,
so it wasn't. Explaining to him now, he needs to hear that it was not about money.
Yeah. So Nurain, it was. Nurain, I was just being overprotective. And as you grew up and you became a man, so now I'm allowing you to go out more, don't I? So that was the reason. I was just being overprotective with all of you, and you can see it with Aisha. I'm being overprotective with her as well. So when you come that age, when I feel that you can be responsible, that's why like I let you go out by yourself and, you know, associate with your friends.
You can be assured tonight's conversation will not leave us the same. Just like I am hosting, but I know anytime a hand might go up and it might be one of my children getting to put us to task about certain questions.
Kayira. Thank you so much.
That was a very, Noreen, that was a very, very brave. Noreen, anything else that probably you have maybe to share about something probably that was happening to you outside of home, between home and school, and probably you never had a chance to sort of share it with mom because she was busy?
Well, when she mentioned having 4 different jobs, when I was younger, I felt like I had everything that I kind of wanted. You know, as a kid now and then, you might ask for something expensive, you know.
Video game.
I like
some nice Jordans.
Yeah, so or like a new PlayStation.
How did you know that?
All right. Well, we are living in that world, aren't we? Yes.
Or like a new PlayStation. But my essentials like new toys or something I wanted on my birthday, I pretty much got. Yes. And I would be at home and she'd be running around the house. I remember this one specific day when she was working her 4 jobs, she left at 7, came back at 9, slept for an hour, went out, came back. Like she was in out like I think 4 times. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, I saw, but now like I realized how much she was really working hard, and now I appreciate how much she done for me. Because
well, tell her that, Noreen, now that you have a chance. Please tell her.
Yeah, I appreciate what you done for me. And when I was younger, I didn't feel like you were working that hard because I'd got everything I'd wanted, but now I see what you had done, and alhamdulillah, everything that you've given me, keeping us like having a roof over our head, and inshallah, hopefully I can provide the money back to you. And pay back, because
oh, thank you.
That's
quite touching.
Yeah, I feel like all men should work towards giving back to their fathers and mothers, because they work so hard that we wouldn't even believe to ever, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like at our age, we would never understand until we're at that point. And if you spend money on your parents, they will never forget it. But if you spend money on other things, they're not going to have, nothing will have more value than giving back to your parents or giving back to your family, in my opinion.
Oh, fantastic. And your sister looks like she's just burning now. Where are all the other young people on here? Nabira, Alia, Yasmin, I'm coming to you to hear your stories on this. Noura's hand is up, and Noreen, let's allow Noura to come back. I mean, the Dame's hand has been up. I think probably one of the twins wants to speak. We will give you a chance to come in. The conversation is getting interesting, and the time is running 24 minutes past 9 o'clock already. Noura, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on my brother's point. I just wanted to say, for example, like last week, I lost my wallet and I was very stressed and everything like that. And someone had taken my bank cards and spent the money on it. And through all of that, like the first person I wanted to talk to was my mum. And she tried everything she could to like help me through that. So it's like, even though I'm an adult and I should still be going through these things on my own, like knowing that someone is there who will still care for you and, you know, put time and effort in when she's got all her things still going on. Yeah, it kind of pushes from, you know, what we went through as when we were younger. I just wanted to, that was my point. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Another appreciation for Hajara. Now, that's a very fantastic. I mean, where are all the other families? Please, I need your hands up. Yasmin, I'm coming to you. Ali, I'm coming to you. Jaden, your hand has been up for so long. Let's just get that off your chests, and then we can continue the conversation. I'd like the conversation to sort of widen out. Let it not be just concentrated on a few of us. Please remember, this is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. It's your global community conversation. Nobody is excluded from having a word or having a say. This conversation is about you and for you. Therefore, don't wait until I come for you. You can raise your hand. Janat in Tanda, I saw your message there. Fantastic appreciation to Hajara. And I'll be coming to you to hear your own story as well. Jaden, please, you have the mic.
Yeah, I just want to touch on two things very briefly. I'll start from the bottom one about what Rain has just said about his mom being overprotective.
Yes.
It's, to me, that's not being overprotective, because I would call it safeguarding, because we live in a country which is empowering, and it's also got opportunities. But at the same time, it offers dangers which we parents don't want to see our children going through, falling into bad habits or getting beaten up because of the color of their skin and things like that. So, Lorraine, it's not being overprotective. It's just safeguarding you from some of those loopholes, some of those pitfalls which you could easily fall into. Because as adults, we listen a lot. We see on TV things which may not interest you, but which are important for your welfare. So appreciate what your mom does for you. I know she's now letting you go out, but at the same time, have it on the back of your mind that we live in a very dangerous environment. Some of our communities, the communities that we live in, do not like us, to put it very bluntly. They don't like us here, and we've got to be careful. Secondly, when it comes to parents working very hard, because some of us have the misfortune or the fortune of having children in the UK and back at home. We really have to struggle for the children who are back home, because here children get free education, free medical expenses paid, books and everything, stationery. But for those other children who are left in Uganda, it's a different story. We've grown up there, and we know how hard it is for parents there to provide for their children. So when you see some parents working very hard, you know it's because they've got to provide not just for the family that is here, bills and things like that, but they've also got other children, extended family back in Africa where they have to cater for. So the time is torn between all those
those different things. Yes. All right. Okay, Jaden,
and then the last bit which I touch on is what is actually a question which response to what Radia said, that we have been assimilated. But my question is, I know she meant we have been integrated, but my question is, do we get integrated at the risk of losing our culture and what is important to us? Should we leave all that we've grown up on to adopt a new culture just because we want to please our children? That's my question.
Well, that's the question I think for all of us to be able to ponder upon. Thank you very much, Jaden. And I'll just extend the conversation. Thank you very much for everyone who has so far spoken. Let me go to the United States, because we've concentrated so much in the US. And one of our own co-hosts in this conversation, one of the people who runs our studios, the Uma Connected Studio, is Hasfa in the United States, Hasfa Kaswija, who is with daughter Sonia. And Hasfa, I'll just go straight to Sonia before I come to you. Sonia, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Walaikum salam. Speak up louder. Walaikum salam. How are you
Someone has taken the salam much more seriously in the background there. I can hear them going for the salam. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you guys?
Alhamdulillah. Welcome to the conversation. Well, I'm sure you've been listening into the conversation, especially from the younger people, but also from the parents.
Yes.
Well, you went with your mom to the US from Uganda. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that one more time?
I was asking, did you move to the US with your mom, or were you born in the US?
I moved to the US with my mom, but I was very young.
Now, getting to the US as a child of an immigrant parent, probably take us through your own first experiences. How difficult was it for you to sort of settle in, get integrated into the US?
Well, when I got here, I was only like 9 months, so I didn't really have a struggle. So
9 months old.
Yeah, so I was a baby, so I didn't really have a struggle. So
right. And once you started kindergarten, was it easy for you to sort of fit in? Was it easy because you had grown up there, literally?
Yeah, it was pretty easy for me because I already grew up here and I knew everything. So starting kindergarten wasn't anything strange to me.
But as a Black person, did you find any particular challenges probably in the predominantly white community? It's fine.
Well, the only challenge was there wasn't many people who looked like me because me and my sister were the only Black kids in the school. Because we lived in a predominantly white area, so there was that challenge.
And how difficult was that for you? Did you feel any different? Because it was a challenge, but how different did you feel? Did they show it, or did you just feel it in your own self?
I knew I was different, but I didn't really see it as a problem. I tried to use it to my gain because I knew like white people were kind of like scared of Black people, so like I kind of used that to my advantage when I was making friends. So like I knew they wouldn't speak to me any which way, so I kind of like became like Queen Bee. Like I kind of like ruled where I was. But the only difference I had was like with my hair, I didn't really know I had such like 4C nappy hair because my mom permed it. So I always thought I had straight hair like all the other white girls till I moved to a more predominantly Black area when I realized I had this natural hair that I had to take care of. And it wasn't straight like all the white kids.
Was it too late for you to take care of that hair? Had you already transformed it with a certain sheen?
Yeah, I already transformed. I was already like 13 by the time I realized that my hair was not like everybody else's. So then it was really hard for me to do it by myself. My mom said she wasn't going to help me, so I had to do it by myself. So bad.
And what we have had a lot, from the conversations here from the young people is about very busy parents working too hard. Was your mom doing 4 jobs as well?
When I was younger, when we used to live in Connecticut, my mom, she did work a lot, so I was babysitter, but she used to be home on the weekends, so I used to see her, but she did work a lot, which was good, because like, the bills are gonna get paid.
Yeah.
But I guess I missed her sometimes too. But it was nice. I didn't really feel any different.
Did you ever get a chance to tell her that you had missed her while she walked away?
I mean, yeah, I'd come home and hug her and say I missed you.
Yeah.
But I mostly liked being home alone because like I could do what I want. And she wasn't there to stop me.
But some of the things we find difficult, like for an African parent born in Chandamuka Kaumbulide, for a child to come and tell you I love you, sometimes you start looking around you before you actually take it in, because we are not used to being told like from your child that mom, I love you, or dad, I love you. It's not something that we were actually brought up, to sort of get used to. Was that a sort of a straight thing? Would you repeat that to her as often as possible? Mom, I love you, or I miss you, and
No, because that's not like, it's not really who we are. We're not like the lovey-dovey, like hugs and kisses all day. I love you every minute. I knew she loved me and she knows I love her, but I just don't say repeatedly because that's just how she grew up and she kind of brought it towards me. So that's just how I am as well.
Yeah. So now you've listened to the conversations and some of the people that managed to, say thank you to their parents, so probably looking at the kind of trials and tribulations they've gone through together. Your mom has been there for you, I would imagine. Maybe you would have a chance. Did you have any question you'd like to ask her, or maybe something you'd like to say to her tonight in this special program?
I mean, I don't really have much to say. I'm always very thankful for everything she does. She sacrificed a lot from when I was younger for my sister and I. So I'm forever thankful for that. There isn't really much. I mean, I'll give her a shout out. Hey, Ma, love you.
I can imagine the look on her face now. Is she shy? Because someone in the chat room here just reflected many Africans who are brought up in the villages, saying to your mother or father, I love you, and they said, I think that was a message from Musa Rugemwa, sort of saying. That would be the first reaction. As for, I don't think that is how you would react. How do you react when Sonia says, I love you, mommy? I'm going to give you a shout out.
You know what? You are similar to Adopt.
Yeah.
And then you say, I love you too. You know what's so funny?
when I was growing up, we never had that connection. Like my mom, you know, mommy wa koma mama zoko na you know, it's like strict. Kati later on, because my mom is here. Later on, you talk to her, she goes, okay, Kale, bye, I love you. You're like, oh, for the first time I was like, oh, when I came. Oh my God. That's okay. Okay. And then after a while, it has become like normal. Excuse me. When you hear her say it, it's become okay. It became normal. And with them, of course, like even Sister Radia said, it become you assimilate.
You get integrated into the system. You become a part of this. You get used to it. It becomes the norm.
It becomes the norm, yeah. And even when I used to talk to my dad, you know, I'm Sassy, boy, daddy, whatever, daddy,
I find it with my mom. I tell her, Mama, I love you so much. And there's a bit of silence that goes before the These are the realities that we have to face.
Yes, and you know, recently I talked to my uncle. Nemugamba, tata jingo, nkwagala nnyo, naseka, nagamba webale kuba.
Instead of saying I love you,
nemugamba muzeyi, nkwagala nnyo is my uncle, you know, kati mukulu. He's like his tata namugamba ha. He laughed so hard. Nemugamba muzeyi, netonzizemu, naseka. He was like, oh, you know.
Yes. So, you can feel the shyness in the voice as they even respond.
The shyness in the voice.
They're not used to that.
No, they are not. So now you get used to it. I mean, they hear, Mommy, I love you. Mommy, I love you. Mommy, I love you. Even the young ones. So you get used to it.
Yes.
And then nature, you know, how to try to get the food.
Yes.
Those days, I remember when I had just come, the world boxed mashed potatoes.
Yes.
It's like easy. It seemed to be easy. You're coming from work or you don't have time to cook. You don't have time to cook. No, Grandma, let me try this box mashed potato. No, never be after some time. I'm a talking about then you like have to switch. You're like, okay, let me try things like mac and cheese and stuff like that. And then, you know, then you go out to eat, not knowing sometimes, you know, then it wasn't good for their health.
Yeah.
You know, never get jar, but you know, they were not eating right, but it's easy because you're busy, you're working.
Yeah.
You're constantly working. You don't have time to come home and have a full cooked meal. And that's a challenge, you know. Mommy, you made so much rice and you made so much stew, and so much matoke, and now they don't even want to touch it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Hasfa. I'll just move on again to sort of widen the conversation. Remember, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Tonight, we are talking about immigrant families, the challenges that we find as immigrants, but also our own children, the children of immigrants, the kind of challenges that you face. And I'd like to hear a lot more from the younger people. Please, if you are there, Sheikhat Radia, I can see your hand is up. Let me just grab him, Aliyah, and
Nzakala kenjagala obutaleka Sheikh Kayira is this issue of
sorry, as you come in, Aliyah and Yasmin, please get ready. I'm coming to you next.
It was another challenge gye tuyina nagisingana Uganda nga ngenze, whereby that the people back home tugezaako nnyo okubeera, we parents here tugezaako nnyo okubeera nga tubasanyula. One of my friend challenged me very much and I was very much shocked. She used to ask me, munange nyambaako mpererereko abaana bange, But because in Uganda people are very strict, even at school, omwana basobola omukuba kibooko n'aterera, naye ffe wano tulina rights zaffe ezitufuga. Kati nze nagenda ogenda e Uganda, abange mbateekako ngenda nkola ssente, oli nga mpaana nnyo nga ngamba, oh, thank you very much. You are doing this and this and this. Me, I'm not paying attention to my children. I'm working so hard in support of the other people in Uganda. And I found that my children are very, very below the capacity. Ogenda okutuuka eri owoli ng'asoma law nga ali very, very below capacity. Nga ntunulira ssente zange. I'm really very sorry kubanga you find nti abantu baffe wano people in diaspora bagaana okuteeka attention on their children ne bateeka attention ku baana b'abantu whereby that nti bali ne bomuwa akasente katono ye waali ku mwana we agenda n'apayinga visitation at school ab'okusomero bakambwe bajja kumufaako kati gwe toyina budde obudde bwe wandimaze ku baana bo ogenda ng'okola extra hours ng'ose owaayo school fees eri ogenda okutuuka eri nga bali balina position y'amaanyi ate nga mwe musigadde behind. So we have to take care of our children, not tekwegamba ffe tuwaayo abaana baffe in exchange of whatever being kutuwaana eri Uganda. Oh, Radhia, you are working so hard. Munango oyo our hero. Yatukolerera family yonna. Kakati kumbe nga gwe abaana bo bonna bagwawo bugwi. So let's wake up and pay attention to our children.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much. Sister Aida, please call Ali and Yasmin to come back. They've told me that you have the secret code to getting them to come back. Well, with Sheikh Radhia now, you can never get enough. There's always something in the bag. I want to go to the young people who are part of this conversation tonight. To be honest, you are all so quiet, and I'll just start picking up, and then we can have the conversation. Imkan, I can't see you anywhere. I know you're logged on as iPhone probably. But let's hear from the other people who are here. There is Mina's iPhone. Mina, please. Mina, can you unmute yourself, please? Mina's iPhone. Mina's iPhone. Oh, iPhone. Yeah, I wish I could see where you are at because I can't seem to see you. It's iPhone. Let me try to get you. I can see another hand. Hajara, you can come in just quickly while I try to track. There's iPhone raised hand. No, there's no iPhone that has raised hand. It's only Hajara's hand that is up. Please, iPhone Imkan, can you raise your hand, please? All right, fantastic. Hajara, let me just go to someone who hasn't spoken. No, maybe actually let's just finish up with you. You may be having something that is going into Radhia's line as well. Yes, Hajara.
It's my daughter, Aisha.
Oh, it's your daughter. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I almost denied them a chance because you're using it. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Aisha.
Hello, Aisha. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
You seem to be in that generation that has been spoiled.
Yeah, definitely.
Mom now can have the relaxation to be around home.
Of course.
Yes. Go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about like how I had to like adapt to my school, both primary and secondary. So obviously my mom had to place some rules about Islam like into like the whole situation at school, like things that I couldn't do and stuff that I couldn't eat. I remember when I was 3 years old, I was given dinosaur shaped ham and I ate it, but my mum didn't tell me that ham wasn't allowed. So I come back, my mum's waiting, and I told her that, Mum, I ate ham today. The taste was okay. And I was talking about like all of it. And my mum started yelling at me, saying, don't eat ham, never eat it again. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and there was also the case of like gelatin and stuff. So when one of my classmates was celebrating their birthday, handing out Haribos, and I would be like, can't have it. And then they're like, why? Just have one, it's fine. And I'm like, no, it's not fine. And there's also the my headscarf. I was the only person that wore it in my school. There were obviously lots of questions that arose about it, and why do I wear it? And also I had to stop.
How did you explain that, Aisha?
Well, Mum told me that it was to protect our modesty, like to protect ourselves really. And I really enjoy wearing it. It's very nice. Yeah.
It makes you unique. You realize that you actually suddenly you stand out. You're unique in your own way. You're not just into the bandwagon of everybody, looking the same. You stand out differently.
Yeah, and I'm just proud of wearing it really. I love wearing a headscarf. And
so does it feel like modesty to you, or it feels like fashion now that you have to find even different styles?
I think it's more on the modesty side and less on the fashion side. I'm still one of the only people in my whole entire secondary school that wears one, and there's still questions about it because sometimes I come in with like a different color or something, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." Or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and now it has actually become very fancy. What social media has done is sort of build up. There are even things on the different styles of how to wrap your veil, how to make your veil, and people are going on to Snapchat, on Instagram, and then quickly sort of sharing these things, and suddenly they've become a sort of a sense of fashion, and you feel like you have a sense of belonging, which was very different like 10, 15, 20 years ago. Technology has come in, I think, to sort of make a lot of difference. How did you get around the halal haram? Did you end up having to get packed lunch from home, or did you still remain on the school menu but made it clear that you cannot eat anything that is, has harm in it?
Well, I didn't want to get too like involved in the whole school dinners and things that I can and can't eat. So my mum started making lunch for me.
Right.
And then I started making lunch for myself so that I could, avoid the whole awkward.
How old are you now, Aisha?
15.
15. Okay, that's quite the age. I would like to hear from my own Nakato, my own Ilham, and hear what she has to say. I hope she will be able to put her hand and hear later. Now, you've come in as part of the spoiled generation, because now mom can have a lot more time for you than she did, for example, for Nora and Nurain, even how tough she was on them. Would you like to have something to say to her, maybe?
Yeah. When I was a kid, I always kind of felt like my mum put more time for my sister or maybe my brother than me. I thought it was because, I don't know, maybe I was boring or I wasn't as funny as the rest of them, or I wasn't as smart, but I think I think it was, I don't know.
You feel differently now?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think it was just because my brother and sister were going through their teenage years, and obviously there was a lot of things that they had to adapt to, like school and exams and stuff, while I was literally just a kid. I didn't really have many important things to worry about back then.
Thank you very, very much, Aisha, for the time. It's actually tonight, you've just made my night. You've made the show get a lot more interesting. Let's go to iPhone. I think, is that Imkan? iPhone, can you unmute yourself, please? iPhone with your hand up. Hello. Wa alaikum salam. That's you, Imkan. And Ali and Yasmin are here, so we'll get to hear from them. Yes, Imkan. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I'm sure you've been following the conversation from start.
Yeah, I've been following.
Yes. What's your take? Listening, first of all, to very hardworking parents, or probably getting to listen to you and your concerns. Is there anything?
I'll probably say my take is like I'm seeing how hard the parents are working, because as immigrants, not only are you look down upon like in your workspace and how you get treated at work, but you also have to work double the amount of time because you're an immigrant. But I'll also say as a parent, you chose I'm not saying like in a bad way, but you kind of chose that lifestyle for to benefit your kids and to benefit your family back home. So let's say your child was trying to open up to you or was trying to talk to you. I think that you should be able to have the time, or you should have mentally prepared yourself to have the time for them, because no matter what jobs you've been put through, you chose to have the children and you chose to do this for them. So you should make the time to talk to them as well.
You don't think you get enough time with your parents to be able to share your feelings?
I'll probably say now that I'm older, there's more opportunities, but I'll probably say when I was was younger, both of you were working so hard. We didn't really see as much. You used to come home in the night time when then we're probably in bed or something. So when you're younger, when you don't have that opportunity, I'll probably say like you've seen that they're gonna be out all the time, so you just keep it to yourself. So when you're older, you don't really feel like opening up because you've already bottled the emotions and all the things that you had to say because you were never there for us at the beginning, if you understand.
So does it mean then you feel like emotionally lost? That there's a time that is lost? Because if you are younger and you are, sort of getting to feel like you wanted to be listened to, you wanted to be seen, you wanted to be there for the parents to be there, that is a lost moment. Now that you've grown up, you sort of appreciate they've gone through this, but you almost wish they were there. Is that the sort of case? I'm trying to sort of get the mindset in terms of looking back to what it was and how you feel about it. And now that probably you have a much better picture or understanding of where it's coming from, does it feel like still you'd rather have had more time then? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll probably say when I was younger, like it's probably a lost moment because now when you're older, because when you're younger, you're probably selfless. You just think of yourself. You're trying to just tell your parents, oh, this is what happened today at school, blah, blah, blah. This is happening. But then when you're older, you realize where your parents are coming from. You become more like understanding. So then you decide you just decide to keep it because you understand where your parents are coming from. They've had a hard day at work. So I'll probably say it is missed time because now like the time is a bit, I would say the time is probably a bit too late for you to try fix that mistake. So it's already in the past.
Yeah. I can hear some jubilation behind you. Are they supporting you in that?
Yes, it's a shame.
And here you think that you're actually very much available and trying to be as much available as possible. Still, it is not enough from your perspective.
I'll probably say now that I'm older, you're probably more around for me to be open to, but I don't really see like if it would benefit me because I've already had all those years of like missed out time, if you want to say. Yeah, so you're there for me if I want to open up, but it's just like I don't seem the need to because I've already like gotten better like at handling it myself. Yes, that's what I'll probably say.
And sincere apologies. That's how it's coming across. But at least for all that it's worth, you can see that all the time has been given at least to make sure you have what you could have.
Yeah, now I see where.
Well, I can see your mom now coming up. I think she wants to sort of defend herself. Stay on. It's not probably defending, but probably try to explain. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is now a family conversation, and things start getting interesting as time is running out. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to appreciate Imkan for being really open and honest.
Yes, absolutely.
How he feels and how he felt about the way we handled things. But what I want to tell him is just saying something about right now he doesn't feel if there's any need. I think this is actually the most crucial time.
Absolutely. Yes.
For us, actually, you need us more now than you needed us when you were younger. Yes, there were lost waters under the sea. Because obviously the stage where a child transforms from a child to a young man, that's the most difficult and the most confusing time for any child growing. And that's the time you need all your parents' support. So that's why I came in. I just wanted to put that right. That Imkan, I think this is actually, if your parents are not now available for you at this stage, the teenage, and because there's that transformation, then that you should really worry. That's the most delicate time.
This is now the transitional time where you're getting from just being a boy to being a man, and every level of preparation now is at this critical stage. We might have missed out at that particular point, but we definitely are here now, and this is the time that we actually need to sort of make up. We cannot bring back what passed, but at least there can be that intervention that might help you to make you the man, a better man for tomorrow. All right, thank you very much, Hajat Naima, for that intervention. I'll go to Aliyah and Yasmin, and then Nabir. I've seen you had dropped off. I was wondering what had happened, but you're back. Very interesting conversation with 5 minutes to get to our normal time. Oh my goodness, you will kill me. Let's hear from Aliyah and Yasmin. Aliyah and Yasmin, please unmute yourself. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation, but you must have your own story.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Well, in Epsom, it's a predominantly white area. So growing up as one of the 5 out of people in your primary school are probably going to be black and the rest are going to be white.
Right.
I wouldn't say it's difficult. In primary school, it's not really looked upon because people, mostly everyone was treated equally. But then
Is that Aliyah or Yasmin? Who is speaking?
Aliyah.
Aliyah, okay, yes, go ahead, please, yeah.
As you go to secondary school, there's more variety of different people from different backgrounds. And you can relate to different people's situations more. But I feel like in primary school, it's more of you're taught to treat everyone equally, and sometimes that is not always what happens.
Yes. Go ahead, Aliyah. You just broke there. You don't think there is a knowledge of what happens? I mean, do you get a chance to speak to your mom, for example, and open up about, the goings on between, the school and home?
I mean, I think I started opening up better when I entered secondary school.
Right.
Because in primary school, you kind of want to keep stuff to yourself, if that makes sense. It might be different for other people, but for me mainly, I started opening up as I grew older.
Yes. And
that's mainly what I wanted to touch.
Well, sort of the main challenges that you faced. You spoke about being amongst the very few blacks in a predominantly white situation. Probably, that's kind of understandable. But did you feel like some racism against you? Did you feel isolated?
I feel like in secondary school,
yes.
Well, sometimes people can look down on you because of like where you're from, because there has been a lot of sport opportunities, and sometimes you don't get picked. And I thought, oh, maybe it's because I don't play very well. But then if you look at the team that they've selected, you don't see many colored people.
Yes.
So it's mainly the selection, and I think if you're a colored person in a predominantly white area, you are looked down upon.
Yeah. And how have your parents helped? How have your parents helped? How has that helped? Yeah.
Well, I speak to my parents about the situations that happen at school, and we talk about ways to solve it and ways to overcome. Yeah.
All right. And Yasmin, are you there as well?
Yes.
Yes, Yasmin. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Well, you've been hearing what Aliyah was saying. You seem to agree?
Yes.
What sort of challenge? How old are you, Yasmin?
12.
12. All right. No, definitely that's a sort of a very powerful time as well, sort of beginning to get into adolescence and all of that. What would you say is the biggest challenge probably that you have had? And have you had a chance to discuss it with her?
Well, it's not like big, but like I was in year 1 and I had just joined the school, and I wanted to like make new friends, and I went up to a group of girls and I asked if I could play with them, and then they said no, only like white people can play, and I felt like a bit like ashamed of who I was like that time, but I did tell like my parents about it, and like it got sorted out.
Why didn't you tell them? Were you fearing that they would feel?
I had just joined the school, so I was like quite shy, and like I hadn't really talked to anyone yet, so I was trying to just make new friends.
Yeah, but what I mean is that it hurt you so badly. I mean, say that it's only white kids that can play. That is probably something you would almost have wanted to share with your mom, at least with that.
I did tell my parents. I did tell my family.
Oh, you did tell them?
Yes.
Ah, right. And how did they react? Were they supportive at the time?
Yeah, they were supportive, and they spoke to the teacher about
Ah,
it.
right. Yes. Okay. Because there's a time I had a difficult time as well. My last daughter, last born, our acting last born, who is 8 years old, was in school, and when she started in year 2, I think she was, and she was trying to go to play with some house as well. The same story that we just painted, and they refused to play with her. And it was not until later on, actually very later on, that a boy, a black boy, now comes to be able to play with her, and that was very painful because that was like open racism, like straight in, and since then she has never overcome that. There's always that kind of feeling, and it's something you almost want to raise with the school, but then you look at the numbers and you think you can talk about it. You know, one teacher even realized it, and the teacher intervened and said, "Please make sure you play with QI'DAH." For me, that was really heartbreaking. It's one of those moments where I felt like, should I just carry my daughter and take her back to Africa, where she would feel wanted, she would feel a part of it. And she survived. And the way they come home and they just sit, you don't know how much is going on. And you almost want to sort of get the moment to be able to listen to all these things that are going on, in the school that could hurt someone and, destroy them forever. Listening to this almost really brought me to tears. I was really heartbroken thinking about this, and how that played out, how that plays out, can be really difficult. But you got your parents to sort of listen and take action.
Well, after that situation happened with Yasmin, they got a teacher involved, and the teacher didn't really handle the situation well.
Yeah.
And when we told the teacher, she started talking about colors of people's eyes instead of like their skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And well, how did that make you feel? I mean, how did you contend? How did you live with that?
Well, at the time, I didn't really like think it was a big deal at that time. Like I just thought like she was sorting it out, but like now I like understand that she like yeah.
Is there something you'd like to say to your mom now that she's on here?
Well, I kind of have the same situation as someone said on the Zoom, I think earlier. They were talking about letting the child have a chance to spend time with their friends, not just in school but also out of school. My mum does let me spend time with my friends out of school, but if I was say I was a boy, it would be differently. I think I understand where my mum comes from, where she's coming from now, because before I always used to think that it was a bad thing, her not letting me go out as much as my white friends would go out. So I kind of understand where she's coming from.
And where is she coming from? What do you understand about where she's coming
from? I think she just wants to protect me.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Aliyah and Yasmin. And Nabira, I don't know if you're still there. Fantastic. And actually, this is very, very powerful. K7, I'll come to you. I think Nabira's hand was up earlier, assuming her line hasn't dropped. It kept dropping and she kept coming back. Oh, Nabira is there. Nabira, please, you have the mic. Nabira.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I'll come to A70 after Nabira as we wrap up the conversation tonight, which I think has been really, really powerful. Nabira, go ahead, please.
I liked everything that everyone was saying. I feel like everyone was very open, and I can resonate with a lot with everyone that was talking, like everyone that was speaking, even though they're a bit younger than me. I remember when I was at that age as well, you know, sometimes wearing headscarf, and there might be other girls wearing headscarf as well, but in your own friendship group, you're the only one wearing headscarf. But I think in year 7, I was supposed to wear headscarf, but my parents were a bit lenient. Like, you know, if she wants to, we're not going to force her. If you want to, this is what you need to do, wear headscarves. But then when I got to like year 8, maybe, by myself, I put it on. They were like, okay, you know, we didn't force her. She put it on naturally.
Yes.
But it's different because then your friends will look at you like, oh, I didn't know you was Muslim all this time, you know? And then but I feel like the school that I was in was very multicultural. So they were very supportive, you know? They were like, oh yeah, you know, Muslims are not supposed to do this, so don't do that around her. Or they're not allowed to do this, because my school was like a Catholic school. Now they didn't really do too much to do with Christianity, but when they used to pray and stuff, like my friends would be like, it's okay, you don't have to pray, it's okay, it's okay. So they were very supportive with, like, you know, religion and everything. And I agree with, I don't know what the guy's name was, but the iPhone person saying that, you know,
it was
your parents are the parents are very emotionally not attached, if I should say. Like, I feel like parents find it hard to express their feelings to their children. Like, their way of showing love is like, oh, Nafumbia Mede, you know, Nafumbia your favorite. And you're thinking, but you haven't even asked how my day was, you know, to how the bad day, you haven't even noticed.
Yeah.
But I feel like parents...
Nabila, did you try to see probably the kind of environment that we were brought up in? Because some of these things actually you transfer to your own kids. That the way we display our kind of affection in the manner that we do. In fact, sometimes actually we try so hard. I never had my parents, you know, like I grew up in this family that was very Islamic. There was nothing like birthdays. The first birthday that I celebrated, I made my own cake. I made my own cake just to try to sort of get a picture of a birthday. I'm trying to give you an idea sort of where we are coming from.
I think I realized it when I was a bit older. Like when I was young, I didn't understand. I used to say, look, my parents are so backwards, you know, it's like they don't care. I used to tell my siblings all the time, I don't think they care. I don't think they love me. And they used to look at me like, you get everything that you want. Like, you can't say that they don't love you, you know, but because you don't hear it like often, like, oh, I love you, especially from like the way my dad was, like he wasn't an affectionate person. He was like very stern, but he will show that he loves you for like, I don't know, like sometimes maybe he'll come give you a pat on the shoulder. I don't even know. His way of showing love was him buying things, like, you know, paying rent, gas, you know, buying new school uniform. Yeah, his way was buying things. But I thought my mom realized I got to an age where, like, you know, she needs to show us a bit of love, and then now she does it, but now we still find it a bit awkward when she comes and just hugs us out of nowhere. You're thinking, oh.
we are trying to catch up. Stay on because I see Yasmin, Ali and Yasmin have come up there, and probably they want to share, because this is a conversation. Probably they want to say they share a sentiment that may probably come into what you're saying. Stay on. Let's just hear Ali and Yasmin. Has Nabila touched a chord in what she's saying?
I agree with what she said. Something I wanted to add on, being a Muslim in, you know, in the area that we live in, it's not, I wouldn't say it's easy, because you don't see a lot of Muslims and you don't see a lot of people of color in this area. So growing up as a Muslim in this area wasn't as easy, because you know, I would go to my daily madrasa every Saturday in primary school. And there were times where I wouldn't say I was ashamed. I would just say I think I wanted to fit in with everybody else. And my friends hadn't seen me with the headscarf on before, so I was shy. I felt shy in my religion, but as I grew to love the headscarf, and as I grew in secondary school, having a headscarf and being Muslim was never it hasn't been a boundary anymore for me, because I feel like me wanting to fit in didn't really help myself with my confidence. And when I started wearing the headscarf properly in year 7, I thought that people wouldn't want to be friends with me if, you know, they knew I was Muslim. But as I grew more confident in my headscarf, I started to make friends. Year 7, I didn't really have many friends. I barely had any because of my self-esteem, my self-confidence. You know, I would have lunch practically alone because I felt like people didn't like me. So as I grew older, year 9 towards my year right now, year 10, I've grew to become more confident, become more outspoken, and talk about how I feel. If something's upset me and someone's done something wrong towards me, I tell them that's not, you know, it's not okay. Stuff like that.
No, thank you very much. Nabira, back to you. I think I needed to get in Yasmin because I think I thought she had something that was burning, and I think I'm sure you've had that.
Yeah,
Nabira, yes.
I get her because when I started wearing it, like in year 8, I thought, oh, like, you know, I felt awkward because the group of friends I had, all my friends were Christian at the time, and the Muslim girls, I used to say hi and bye to them, but we wasn't really friends like that. So when I first wore it, I think someone even made a comment, and then because my friend's my friend, she said, well, she's Muslim, so if she wants to wear a headscarf, she's going to wear it, you know, kind of thing. And I feel like once you have like at least one person on your side to, like, you know, stand by you, it's helpful. But even if you're by yourself, sometimes you just have to just do it for the sake of doing it, and then Allah will help you through your way. And sometimes it's not even the headscarf. Like, you will think, oh, they don't want to talk to me because of the headscarf, but sometimes you in yourself, you're saying negative things to yourself, so you even stay away from joining in with stuff or talking to people or even putting yourself out there. So even if you have a headscarf, you don't have a headscarf, literally it's the energy that you bring to the table, you know, and they will gravitate to your personality. Because if we're being honest, a headscarf is just a piece of cloth. Like, no one's gonna stop talking to you because you put a piece of cloth on your head and you decide to be modest. Like, you know, I feel like sometimes it's just in our heads, but we're young, so we just feel like, oh, we just want to fit in, we just want to make friends.
And how old are you now, Nabira?
I'm 22 now, and it was a journey. I would say it was a journey, but I feel like having supportive parents, and like supportive siblings have helped a lot. Because I feel like if I didn't have the siblings that I've had and the mom that I've had, I don't think I would have got through majority of the things.
Saying those words now sounds so powerful. Why don't I allow you just to have a shout out, a message to them now that they are probably listening to this conversation? What would you like to say to your parents?
I'm not sure if they're listening, but maybe an auntie will come and tell
this program, be assured, it's on YouTube. It's streaming on YouTube, and therefore they'll be able to watch it back. It's always available, and that's one thing probably I should have flagged, that all our programs are on YouTube. You just go look for Ummah Connected, or even if you just search, Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, all the programs come in and you can just go in and watch back or listen back. So definitely it will be there. If you had a message to them, then what would you say to them?
I just want to say thank you for being there, because I'm not the easiest person to deal with, honestly. The DHU'L's out of this world. So thank you for the patience, and thank you for the love, the support, everything. And the unconditional love, because some people have family members, but they literally hate each other. So I'm very thankful to come from a loving home and a supportive one as well.
All right, and we'll go to A70. Thank you very much, Nabira. I'm sure you've had USA. Let's go to A70. Ali and Yasmin seem to be again. But let's get to A70 and then we will wrap up tonight. A70, your name, please.
Hi, Mr. Kayira. My name is Jeanette.
Hi, Jeanette. Greetings. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. This is a really nice topic.
Oh, thank you.
First of all, I just want to tell parents, please don't feel guilty. You're doing your best. I saw some chats, somebody was saying, oh, you're feeling guilty. No, when we come here, there are lots of challenges. There's a challenge of transition to the society, and then those who, I salute those senior parents. Some of us are young ones.
Hey. Who do that?
I salute you.
Yes.
Don't worry, they will appreciate later. And some of them are saying it openly. And indeed, you are doing a great job, all of you and all of us. And I just want to thank the young lady, I think Ali and
Yasmin, yes,
said they do appreciate, they do, I think they live in an area where it's not
predominantly white. Yes, very, very few Black people in there.
Yes, and thank you for standing out. Don't give up. It is where you are, and that's where God has put you. So stand out and show, just do your best. Be on top of things, and they will not leave you out. So we do appreciate all the moms, the mom who said, the first mom, one of the moms who said,
yes.
I really love her. So
she's very blunt.
Evening and mix the Luganda and the Kinyarwanda, and you just want to pinch somebody's why, you know, and they will say it, they will explain it in English or in. So we do appreciate all you parents, and thank you so much for the topic.
Thank you very much, Janet. Yes, Janet, thank you very much. I mean, and to the parents out there, I think in the circumstances, given all the dilemmas, the problems, the challenges that we have had on top of our heads, we've done the best that we can. And it is interesting that children are beginning to realize that. Of course, for the missed moments, definitely they can never be made up for. But at least for where we are at, we can pick up the pieces and build up from where we are at. We are doing the best that we can, coming from the different backgrounds that we came, from, difficult parentage sometimes, very poor or poverty-ridden situations. But our parents worked so hard, sent us to schools, and then from that, we have brought you to a better life. The kind of risks that many parents took, embarking on journeys to come to these countries to be where we are at. Many of us, actually, I can tell you for sure, if it wasn't for you, probably would be back home. A lot of times you sit back and you think, for whatever I have done, for whatever I've been, I could easily be back in the village. But you think about the offspring that you have. For you, our children, it is the reason that we are sort of breaking our backs to ensure that at least you have a better future than we do have. And the only way you can try to pay us, you can never pay a parent back. But one of the ways that you can actually do that is for you now to make us proud by being better than where we have been. Ali says, Ali, I think, says a very quick comment here that I read as we try to wrap up, because my parents never said it, so I find it difficult to say it to my kids. And that is, like saying I love you is not the easiest of things to say. You feel it in your heart, you feel like that's what you want to mean, but to have the courage to say it. And sometimes the one that you say it to, you see, those ones who even say it, like half-like the United States will say, when her mom now says to her, I love you, it feels, like you sort of want to look over your shoulder and imagine whether actually that word is truly coming, like from the heart. Where is it suddenly coming from? We have had to deal with a lot of changes, transformational changes in ourselves. And imagine that actually we have lived in two generations, the generation of analog and then crossing into the generation of digital. Combining these two situations is not the easiest of things, you can be assured. But Alhamdulillah, for everything, for all that has happened, for all that you go through outside schools, outside homes, and between school and home, please always share with your parents. You can only have one parent. Once they are gone, they are gone. Treasure every moment that you have, because for all the troubles, you have seen how many people have died trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea to get better lives, not only for themselves, but for their offspring and for the people that they have left back home. The amount of money that goes to countries, remittances sent by people who are breaking their backs, doing 6 jobs a day to ensure that not only are they happy, but the people they've left back home are happy, is actually overbearing on most of us. And many of us actually get to a time where you are too old, you're too tired, you're too sick, even to enjoy the fruits of what you have worked so hard for. Aliyah and Yasmin, I see your hand is up. I'll allow you 1 point and then we'll wrap up tonight. This is been a very powerful program. Isma, I'll ask you please to have that last clip about parents discussing fasts, and then probably that might help to open up conversations between us and our parents as we leave tonight's program, which has been fantastic, and it is thanks to all of you. Aliyah and Yasmin, you have the last word, and then we will wrap up tonight. Please go ahead.
I don't know if this goes with the topic, but also
That Yasmin or Aliyah?
Aliyah.
Okay, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Peer pressure is a big factor.
Peer
and
pressure.
yeah, I only started experiencing it when I entered secondary school. I never really felt pressure to do anything or try anything, but the people around me always felt the pressure from others to try and experience other things. Some people in my year, they do drugs, they smoke, they vape, they do all of the above. And I've been offered before, and my answer is always no. It's always no, and it's always gonna be no. And I always, they always offer it to me. There was one time they offered it to me, and they said, "No one's gonna know. You can try it." The first thing that came into my head was like, I was thinking, is it the right thing to do? And is it really worth, doing something like this? First of all, it harms your body. And second of all, I don't think it's really worth it trying, weed and that stuff. So that's mainly what I wanted to say.
So instead of the pressure that people feel, people should not feel pressured to just end up doing something because they want to prove they are part of the gang, they are part of the group. Because the sense of belonging sometimes pushes people to want to try. You've never tasted alcohol, you are Muslim, just try a sip, it won't harm. And the moment you start, you can never stop. I think, Aliyah, you actually now provide me a very good platform. And I ask the young people who have participated in tonight's conversation, I plead to you, and I promise you that we are going to start having all these programs that have been had before, but now with a totally different focus, trying to target and listen and hear from you. And I hope you'll be able to make time, at least every Tuesday night or Wednesdays or any other day, if a program comes up, please do turn up. I promise we are going to touch peer pressure. Probably not next week, but depending on what happens, if we find the right material for it, why not? I'm happy to do peer pressure. Promise to bring all your friends on board so that we can hear the issue of peer pressure and what happens out there in the school compounds at break time, and actually how that influences and plays out on how we finally end. That I can promise that through here, through this platform, we shall be able to bring no topic is out of discussion. And now peer pressure probably might be a topic that you might have provided us from tonight's conversation. It might be one topic that we'll definitely come back to and hear how people end up with peer pressure and where it has pushed them. Many people end up actually committing crime, sometimes just to try to prove a point, and you don't know what you are sliding into. I can only thank you so much. Thank you very much for making tonight. We have really gone 25 minutes over. Isma, please, if you have that clip, I'd like to have it as our final clip, and then I'll say goodbye to you tonight. And I can only thank you so much. It's been a very powerful conversation. This is one conversation we could have up to midnight, considering everyone has a story to tell, especially the deeper you start. Tonight, we've managed to hear very powerful testimonies. Some people getting to ask their parents or speaking to them in blunt ways. things that they have never had a chance to say to them have happened tonight. And this can only happen on this. Come, let's talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We'll be live on 75W Radio, live on Ummah Connected, on Facebook, on Zoom, and on YouTube where we're streaming live. You can watch back any of the programs you have missed before. Just go to YouTube. You can just type in Ummah Connected and then look for Come, Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, or simply search Come, Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira, and you'll have any of the programs that you might have missed before. Tomorrow, on Bridging the Gap with Becca Chinj at 7 o'clock, they will be discussing brain drain, why so many young people aim to be out of Africa once they turn to adulthood and the diaspora, and they head to end up being slaves where they go. That's a program for 7 o'clock. If you have the time, please make the time and join the conversation tomorrow. Isma, I'm hoping that that clip is there. Musa Rugemo, I've seen your message. Thank you, Sheikh KK. Faidan Teges says, thank you very much for everyone for sharing their experiences. What Isma is only the clip that is keeping us. Hajara Nachtandu said we need more interaction with our children and finding ways of communicating. Thank you so, so much. Tonight has been actually quite a revelation. May I plead with you, don't go away. Watch this clip. Let it help us now to open and start the conversations with our children. To the children out there, please do not fear us. Find the time. Let's switch off the TVs. Let's throw the phones away. Let us get a chance to have a conversation. It's only now that we've got. We don't have tomorrow. Please, if you want to be listened to, just say, Papa, can I have a moment? Mama, can I have a moment? And definitely, inshallah, we will listen. Let's play the clip. The clip is not yet playing. The sound is not on. On Ummah Connected, we've got every.
Hi, I'm Riddick.
I'm Renu.
Sheikh Ismail Nkata, who is always on with the Riyadh Swahili. Actually, we've gone a step now trying to do the translation. Is it coming? Once you have the audio ready, please just get rolling. But tomorrow, Ummah Connected.
It's like, it'll call spirits. It's like the most ridiculous folklore.
Hi, I'm Riddick.
I'm Renu.
I'm Estelle Garcino.
I'm Salvador Garcino.
Tatiana.
My name is Anne, and I'm her mom.
He's my father.
I'm Riddick's mom.
Better not be kissing any more boys.
Why would you say boys plural?
Because they're all orphans.
I'm from Sapporo, Japan.
I grew up in New York.
I was born in the same hospital as my mom, so I lived in India for 5 years before moving here.
I'm a first generation American. I grew up in Estonia.
Mom, what was your first kiss like? Who was it with?
My husband, your dad, on the marriage day, we were so tired. We were given a room, and I just want to go on the bed. But then your dad kissed me for the first time.
I don't know why she's so awkward about it. They've been married for 25 years.
I guess we'll have to make this time count.
It was your first kiss.
My first kiss was.
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
I come to know all
Yeah,
these things
she had no
here
idea.
on the
Yeah, she's
stage.
like, it was in a parking lot in my car after the movies.
Oh my God.
My mom is literally just finding out right now that I've even kissed someone ever.
You kissing? Your father's ashes have barely begun to drift out to sea. Get out of this car! Right, carry that.
You said at 16, you guys went to the club.
Yeah, and that is a very bad thing to do. By the way. My class teacher and his friends was walking around catching the student like me, and they wanted to see my inside of my purse. And there was a cigarette, and then there was a ticket from the club. I was, suspended. I had no idea.
Let's blow the roof off this mother.
Yeah.
But let's also make sure people pick up after themselves.
It happened like the summer after high school, actually. I think it was like with one of my friends. For our first day, actually went on a hike when we went to go watch the movies after.
Mine was a arranged marriage. So, we didn't meet before. And now in his generation, I want him to decide on his own.
You want to come over for dinner tomorrow night?
Dinner? Your house. You and me. Eating together.
at the same table?
Boys, I wasn't allowed to date. I was not allowed to date. I'm in a Mexican household. I'm not even allowed to leave the house until I'm married. So no, I wasn't allowed to date.
What is a boy doing in your room with the door closed? Mom, I'm just tutoring him. Fine, but you can tutor him from further away, right? Move! It's studying, not tango class.
I have, quite a few girlfriends.
He was a player.
No big deal.
So you're saying I should just have 2 boyfriends?
Definitely not.
My first breakup, I'm still on pain.
Liar.
I have this girl, her name is Monica.
You remember her name?
Yes. And I love her, man. So I'm sorry.
You know what love was at 14?
Yes. So.
I was super devastated after my first breakup. I was in college when that breakup sort of happened. So my dad was like, he felt bad. He was like, man, I knew I shouldn't have let you go out with no boys. I don't know what I was thinking. And I was like, it's okay. Like, this happens.
First breakup was about 21. I move on to another person. That's all. No. Maybe for him, maybe.
My mom is a savage, dude.
All these years paid out. She went to college.
That was the goal.
That was my goal. Not to go to the Olympics or,
to get an education.
To get something I never had.
Was college an option for you then?
No.
By 18, you were already trying to cross to come to the States, right?
I'm already in teaching.
He was trying to cross by the time he was supposed to be in college. I go to my dad for a lot of things. He's very important to me.
My mom is like kind of like my role model and always there to come for me.
I think we're still very close. I love her with all my heart.
Well, you've just had it, and what a way to end tonight's conversation. Just a quick tag. Tomorrow we are talking about brain drain on 75W Radio. On Ummah Connect, every Wednesday it is Sheikh Nkata, and after him, Ustad Abbas with the history of the prophets. Make the time. The one with Ummah Connect starts at 2 p.m. UK time. You should be able to catch up, inshallah. Be there. If you can, 7 p.m. That's join Baker TNG. We're on 75W Radio discussing brain drain. The many young people who are taking risks to come to the Western world to find greener pastures. Thank you very much for tonight. I hope you'll keep it right here, inshallah. See you next week on Tuesday. For those, come, let's talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Have a very good night. Thank you very much to Isma in the technical studios and Hafsa in the United States also handling or manning the YouTube channel. See you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.